It is about fucking time that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds Bluehole admits that it has fallen short on developmental performances. Now, this is an article by PC Mag that's in the news section of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. However, if you scroll down, this is one part of the developer update. This is the other part of the develop update. We're going to read through a good majority of this, just so everybody has their understanding. And we're going to skip some parts about, adding things, new items, and whatnot. We're mostly going to talk about some of the things they're going to do to improve performance of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And sorry if I sound very nasally, I just woke up. Hi everyone. Ever since launch, the 1.0 version of PUBG earlier this year, we've been focusing on building our team so we can invest in the game's ongoing development, which is good. I kind of suspected that. PUBG's Bluehole started out very, very small, and when you're trying to hire developers to work in South Korea, well, it's a big life change for them. You have to realize some of the world's best devs don't want to work in South Korea. A lot of the world's best developers don't want to work in South Korea. One, they have to move to South Korea, away from wherever they live at in the United States or in Europe. That's where, and Canada. That's where a lot of the best developers are. United States, Canada, Europe. So moving to a completely foreign country on the other side of the world with a language they don't speak, away from their family and friends and their job they currently have, 99% of developers don't want to do that. So getting good development is really hard for Bluehole. We've been building new content like Signhook, quality of life improvements like map selection and weapon balancing, and a whole series of aggressive anti-cheat measures. We want PUBG to be the best game possible so players like you keep playing it, keep loving it, and keep playing it. Although we've made some meaningful improvements to PUBG, we've fallen short in other ways. Players have rightfully called us out for failing to address complaints about performance, and recently we haven't done the best job of communicating about the changes we're making to the game. Today we want to change that by talking in depth about the changes that we're prioritizing. We also want to tease some upcoming content we plan to add to the game. This dev letter is the first of many more to come. Without further ado, let's get into it. So first off, I think this is really good. We're going to read the priorities here in a second, which is the main focus of this letter. But I think letters like this on Steam, like seriously, if your game is on Steam, this is some of the best ways you can address this community. I can't tell you how much I go and I read news about games. I mean, like, okay, Dark and Light, just as an example, is a game that I wanted to know if it had gotten better or not recently. I wanted to see what they had done recently. So I went to the news section, and I scrolled down and looked at their Arcos Herald. They do this, issue 35. They do an issue like, I think once a month or once every couple of weeks, where they talk about new stuff they've added, community highlights, things like optimization, bugs fixes, blah, 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 blah. They do that for every couple of months. That's so... When you have a game that is badly optimized and people don't play it and they come back, they want an easy source to look at where they can go, oh, hey, they did this and this and this and this, so this game's probably better. Every game should do that. Every game should have a continual type of newsletter, continual type of stream, continual whatever. It's super important. And even if you're not a big fancy, even if you're a 10-person developer, pick somebody to sit down for an hour and write something down. An hour to write something out to put on Steam or Twitter or wherever is not going to take up a huge amount of your time as a developer. And it's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure you're getting from your community. Is it going to get rid of all of it? No, because there's still assholes. But communication should be number one a lot of the times. No Man's Sky is a perfect example, and so is PUBG. PUBG is a perfect example of poor communication and frustration from players. Alright, so our top priorities. We look at feedback from players around the world when determining our priorities. We've heard your voices, and as a result, we believe that the biggest issues which deserve our attention are performance, server-side optimization, and cheating. Performance and server-side optimization. Over the past few patches, we've seen a big increase in complaints about performance problems, including unpredictable FPS drops, visual stuttering, and overall sluggish performance. Some of the root problems are occurring client-side, and others are server-side. First things first. We've identified a few simple fixes we can do to improve the overall game performance. We've discovered that when vehicles move over many different types of ground materials quickly, too many effects are produced, causing players' GPUs to overload. Another cause of the overloading GPUs and FPS drops has to do with the way lighting effects are processed. We're already working on fixes for both of the issues above. We're also changing the way we ship optimizations. We're planning to push updates to live servers whenever fixes are ready, instead of simply waiting for major patches. We'll announce each of these improvements in subsequent patch notes. Looking more forward to the future, we've identified quite a number of ways to optimize different aspects of the game to improve performance holistically. Upcoming client-side optimization work. Character optimization. We're optimizing the way the game handles the movement of opponents who you can't see. The vaulting process and the animations will also be improved. We believe this will address certain screen stuttering issues affecting low-powered PCs. We'll improve the character model rendering process to prevent some small frame drop issues. We'll optimize character movement animations while skydiving to improve frame rate when multiple characters are skydiving at the same time, which is probably why the beginning of the game sucks ass. We'll optimize parachute animations to cut down on the frame drops near the start of each match. We expect the final 3 changes above will make the early stages of the game feel much smoother. War mode will also benefit immensely from these changes. Vehicle optimizations. So you probably wouldn't think that parachute animations and parachute openings are a huge problem, but after War mode tanked their servers so incredibly hard, because War mode's fucking stressful. I don't know if you've ever seen the server performance of War mode. It's all over the place. It looks like somebody's playing ping pong with a latency bar, okay, and a ping rate. It's all over the place. War mode is just so taxing, and so they were probably like, why the hell is War mode so taxing? Went in there, did something, removed, some animation effects, finally got around to removing skydiving animation effects or parachute animation effects, and everything was better, and they're like, holy shit, so we need to we need to improve these. So they talk more about vehicle optimization, loading optimization and stability, and optimization of just faraway objects, high magnification, side. There's server-side optimizations, which is will optimize netcode and reduce network latency. As a result of basic player inputs will be revealed to other players much more quickly. Optimizing netcode and reducing network latency is going to be a huge thing, because it's so often that I watch kill cams in PUBG, and what happened in the kill cam does not match up with what's happened to the player. Or what the player sees, rather. We're going to address the increase the speed at which server transfers data about objects, which stores items, fences, so that'll be more responsive. We're going to eliminate some inefficient network code. Currently, some objects send updates to the server unnecessarily. These are a lot of static objects that don't move and will never move, like houses. The reason why a house is sending updated network code is usually because of the doors. They really need to separate just the door as a single item for an updated netcode. But you have a whole house sending netcode updates to the servers in small little packets, but when you add all the houses up on a single map, it's a shit ton of data. And you really, that's not necessary. They're static objects. There's a ton of stuff like that in this game. Currently, the server rapidly updates certain frames on vehicles and character models in an efficient way. When we address this, we believe it will also resolve abnormal physicals affecting vehicles. This is vehicles flying off like insane. Then they talk about addressing cheating. Listen, this is all great. It's so fucking... They're doing a lot of prioritization. It's just so fucking good to hear them say, you're right. We were wrong. We weren't listening, and we have not been efficient with our updates on optimization. I'll get the words out eventually. Like I said, my brain's slow. I just woke up like 20 minutes ago. So yeah, it's nice to hear that. It really is nice to hear this. This is direly what PUBG needed. Here's my opinion. I don't think Fortnite's that fun of a game. I think H1Z1 could be that fun of a game if anybody played it, but as it stands, nobody plays that game, and they're struggling dearly to try to get people to play that game. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, they were about to fall into the same trap as H1Z1 did. Basically, what happened with H1Z1 is that H1Z1 didn't take care of its problems. It didn't take care of its netcode, its shotgun inconsistency, its hit registration, all that stuff. I mean, H1Z1 had a ton of these problems, and it didn't take care of these problems until everybody left for PUBG. And PUBG was no better. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, we're doing it now because, but if we look, let me show you a graph of PUBG. This looks, it looks normal, right? It looks normal. We hit a high in December, January, and ever since then, we've been on a downward slope pretty quickly. In the last, I mean, not quickly, but in the last 4 or 5 months now, we've been going downward, trending downward. And so, if you look at this and you follow the trend, well, by the end of the year, they'll be under 1 million, which is still 6-7 months away. And a year after that, they'll be under 500, and a year after that, they'll be where H1Z1 is. Their stats are consistently negative across the board. They're constantly losing players, and nobody is playing this on Xbox. Like, nobody is, because it runs like shit on Xbox. That's one of their big problems. They thought the Xbox market would be a lot larger. Well, it's going to be a whole year now before they get to the PlayStation market because of the exclusive deal they signed with Xbox, which is actually probably a problem for them because I bet you that exclusive deal didn't pay nearly as much as an entire market of PlayStation owners might have. And so yeah, in the last 30 days, their average concurrent players was below 1 million. And so you see how quickly they went up from 600,000 to 1 million. It happened in a single month. And another 3 or 4 months after that, they were at 1.5 million on an average. Now their 24-hour peak is 1.5 million. And these are daily average consistencies. They're losing traction. They're losing players. They're bleeding like crazy right now. And what they have been trying to do for the last 4 months is, oh, well, people want new content. No, we don't want new content. No, we don't want esports. The game's not ready for esports. No, we do want map selection and better weapon balancing. But, we wanted optimization for this game a long time ago, and we've been screaming about it since then, like belligerent children, because you haven't been listening, and now you finally are. This makes me excited for the future of PUBG, and hopefully this makes the game better. Long-term stability better. I think this is one of the best things they can do for the game, and I think this is something they should do on a annually or biannually basis. They should do a health checkup of the game. Have any of the new features we've added in the last year severely bogged down the game and made performance worse for players? If the answer is yes, we need to stop and take care of those issues to keep performance optimal. If the answer is no, keep on trucking, add new content. Optimization is key. Why do you think PUBG, or not PUBG, but Fortnite is so popular? Fortnite's not a good game, I'm sorry. I've played a lot of Fortnite. I've played a ton of shooters. I know a good shooter when I see one. Halo Reach years ago tried the Bloom shot system, and that's mostly why Reach fell apart competitively as a game in the beginning, because of Bloom. Bloom is shit. Bloom is ass, and it's just terrible. PUBG has Bloom. Bloom's not fun. Bloom's not good for competitive shooters. It's just not. The building in Fortnite doesn't really make it that much of a actual shooter. It's more of like a builder. And I'd rather play a shooter. I'm not interested in who can outbuild who, personally. Somebody that has poor gun skills but really good building skills can win a majority of their fights. Because they have good building skills. So, in my opinion, while they're both battle royales, Fortnite is nothing like PUBG and not really that good of a game or that good of a first-person shooter, and doesn't really belong in the battle royale scene, in my opinion. I think Fortnite's just a popular game for the short time because of a bunch of kids. And as those kids grow older, Fortnite's popularity will die down. But Fortnite is heavily optimized. Fortnite has consistently standard ping. Fortnite is a very well put together game. And when something works well and it works consistently, people are attracted to it automatically. Regardless, we finally have this coming to us. Finally. And we're going to get it as soon as it's ready. Thank God. I'm ecstatic about this because I've wanted... This is the main reason why I've shied away from PUBG content. The game sucked. That's why I've shied away from PUBG content. Consistently, the game sucked, and I was not having fun playing the game, because so many times I have frame rate hitches and drops and stuttering and lag in the middle of fights, and I feel like I've been cheated in a fight where I can't even see what's going on and I get shot in the head. So many times have I had latency issues, server-side issues, client side, I mean, just the gambit of all those kinds of issues with networking. And I feel cheated because that's not what happened on my screen. That's not what I did. That's not where I shot. And it was just massively more frustrating than it was fun to play PUBG. I hope this makes PUBG fun to play again. I hope I'm right, and I hope this is really the problem, and we'll all be loving PUBG again here soon. I'm Guns, that's my thoughts on the latest update. I'll see you guys later. GG, guys.